If you're dissatisfied with any aspect of your life, you're allowed to change it. I think a lot of people fall into the mental trap of like, oh, I've always showed up this way, or I've always been, I don't know, I've always been this type of girl, or I've always been this type of guy. What are people going to think if I just started suddenly change? If people are that overly invested in your life that they care that you shifted and changed for the better, then like their opinion is irrelevant. And again, if it bothers them so much, by you actually changing in some way, you're going to attract the people that are more in alignment with your new self. So it doesn't matter what people from the past think. If they're holding you back from actually achieving a life that makes you happy and emotionally fulfilled, then those people don't need to be in your life. As hard as it is to cut certain people off, sometimes you need to cut off your whole family to actually have a life that doesn't make you miserable. You know what I mean? And like as long as you're not doing anything to with the intention of like harming anybody, um and like your intention for changing your life in certain drastic ways are pure, like you just want to be emotionally fulfilled and again, not interfere with anybody's free will, right? Like, you're not doing anything to intentionally hurt other people, but you have to put yourself first. Like I think that it's kind of silly. Um People love to project certain like really harsh like adjectives onto people, or be like, "Oh, you're selfish," right? Um like, "Oh, you're selfish because you you know what I mean?" Like they'll call somebody selfish for leaving a relationship and that relationship was literally like like gonna like leading to their personal demise. Like they were crashing out on the inside. I can't say the word that I was thinking of, but I'm like honestly, some people would rather you destroy yourself internally and be miserable emotionally to the point where you lost your life than you making drastic shifts and changes towards your emotional fulfillment. You know what I mean? And which is really sick. Especially like a lot of family members, they would like rather you just like stick to tradition or like stick what they've always done or what they approve of, and like you lose your life so that as a martyr to the cause, then you actually like standing up for what you believe in and what is what is in alignment with your ultimate fulfillment, right? And you know what I mean? And challenge their beliefs in some way. But at the end of the day, like you're in your body for a reason. Like you are conscious and like seeing through those eyes for a reason. It's because, you know what I mean? Like, because you have ultimate control, you know? Like if you're not in prison, you know, I feel like honestly it's to the point where like like you have freedom that a lot of people's like, ancestors may not have had like the literal freedom or like the resources and stuff like that. And to be able to do certain things, and you have to unbind yourself. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people attach themselves to like responsibilities and duties and even like traditional minds, and it's just another form of like imprisonment. You know what I mean? You have to free yourself, because I'm getting that a lot of people are like, "Oh, you know there's a difference between like needing to have distractions because like, oh, you know that you are about to make a big move or like go to college in a few months or whatever, so you just kind of need to keep your nose clean in the meantime, right? There's a difference between needing distractions in the short term versus like which you can like you are always supposed to focus on yourself, like I don't know, like find a form of physical movement that is like enjoyable to you. Find like a form of intellectual stimulation, like I don't know, start playing cards or painting by number, okay? Like, you know what I mean? You don't have to necessarily gain a new skill in order to uh, progress in some way. You know what I mean? You're just meant to like explore your life creatively, okay? That can be your distractions, okay? But if it's to the point where you need to literally find the distractions for your everyday life, and like you are just in that pit of you know, you survive the day just to like seek out forms of escapism at night or on the weekends, and your life is just like a monotonous pattern of like enduring things that you hate doing, being around people that you loathe being around, and then just like seeking some form of escapism in whatever way you can in order to like again mentally survive, then that's a sign that you need to change something, something very significant. And obviously, it always starts from within because, somebody can fall into the trap of like looking outside of themselves and thinking like, "Oh, it's the person I'm with's fault. Oh, it's like the place I live's fault." Like, no, you have to change everything within first. And sometimes it does require separation from certain individuals and like a physical move in order to like um have the like space around you to shift, your life around without like the chatter and stuff like that. Um, or, it just like can help if you have the means to do so, it can help you. But there's a difference between somebody who like moves because they are know that they're going to move and in that new space they're going to like evolve versus somebody who thinks that the move itself is going to be what they need. You know what I mean? Because you can't escape yourself, right? Like if you're like miserable, right? And because you're miserable because you're pessimistic and you see everything in like a negative light or whatever, you moving is not going to change that pessimistic mindset. You have to like change the mindset first before you're actually able to like, and some of you could be like manifesting moves and be sort of like blocked from them because you could be in a mindset that you would be projecting a lack mentality onto a space that's meant to be beautiful and like abundant for you. So, um that's why I know that the healing process or whatever is sort of I want to say ambiguous and can be frustrating because you're like, I don't understand what I need to heal. But then after the fact, like after the time has passed, you can understand, oh, right, like this is why it needed to happen. It's the sort of thing of like, say you went on your dream vacation, but you were still like fixated on some ex from like 6 months ago, then you're not going to be enjoying the beautiful views or whatever. You may be preoccupied with like, I don't know, taking selfies all for the sake of making that ex jealous or whatever instead of just like taking pictures because you want to remember the joyful experience. But I think that like no, you don't have to stay at that job just because, you know what I mean? If it's making that miserable, right? You don't need to stay there. If it's in alignment for you or whatever, like you're allowed to start seeking other places of employment. I feel like some people may feel like they have loyalty to the company or loyalty to their coworkers or something like that. You just can't think about shit like that, you know? Or, you're overly loyal to the place that you live, but you're miserable there. Like if it, you know what I mean? I don't know. And people who feel like, "Oh, I committed to doing this, so I have to stick to it." If it's making your life a living hell, you have to like understand that you're not unreliable for having a realization that something you thought was what you wanted and thought was going to make you happy is actually like making you miserable. Again, obviously, you need to look within first before you start pointing the finger at everything around you. But sometimes it's both, because like the old version of you or like the old identity that you used to have like attracted certain things that, just aren't in alignment or you wanted those things for the wrong reasons, you know what I mean? So you're supposed to reevaluate your life. And I think that like again, some people may project that that's flip-flopping or something. Those people who are accusing you of flip-flopping or whatever, are they happy with their lives or are they so miserable that they're like overly concerned with yours? You know what I mean? Like people who are living their best life, you know what I mean? They're like not concerned with that. You know, I'm also hearing somebody who's like, "Oh, I can't like I don't know, I can't start going like skiing or like doing water sports or whatever because I've never been that type of person or like nobody in my family has done those things or whatever." Like if you have the means to do it and you get invited to do those things, you're allowed to do whatever you want. I just think that like people get too preoccupied attaching themselves to like an old life or an old identity that was projected onto you or like given to you and you're supposed to exercise your free will,